welcome. So hopefully this will be entertaining. I'm going to turn this over to Donna. She is our downsizing expert. So Donna, take it away. And I know Judy's going to be running the slides here.
So hi, I'm Donna Lutkins, and as Nick mentioned, we've done a lot of help with clients who are downsizing or right-sizing. This year we're doing it ourselves, so we have also some personal experience of what it takes and what you're thinking about, and the stress and the emotion that all happens with, you know, moving, period. But certainly moving from a very large house to, you know, maybe significantly smaller house, it is a challenge. So, so we're going to discuss, you know, what are the reasons that people are looking to downsize / right size. For a lot of people, it's the house is too large. We had one client, their house was 7,000 square feet, and it was 2 of them. It was just too much house to maintain. You know, even though a lot of us have people that, you know, come and take care of the yard, you still need to pay for it. You still need to do the mulch and the flowers and everything. So they felt like it was just too much. Another reason is people are just tired of, you know, the maintenance that comes with owning a home. A lot of planned communities actually have the yard taken care of and take care of. You know, if you're in a condo, then you don't have to worry about the HVAC necessarily, or the roof or anything like that. So some people are looking for a little bit more carefree type of lifestyle. Maybe they want to travel more, see the kids more. A lot of us are looking for, you know, lower expenses. This is a very, very expensive area. I don't think I need to tell that to anybody. Everyone who lives here knows how expensive it is. And so, you know, a lot of us want to cut our expenses so that we, you know, have money for savings, retirement, traveling, whatever that may be. You know, also stairs. We've had clients that, you know, have, you know, had hip replacements or knee surgery, and they just can't do the stairs easily anymore. And they need to find a 1-level house and or condo. Not everybody who is, you know, downsizing, it's a happy reason. Sometimes there's a divorce or a death and the house is no longer makes sense money-wise, or you have to sell it. And then sometimes it's just fun. You're ready to go on to another chapter of your life. You want to be in a resort community. You want to play golf every day. You want to pop on your boat. So sometimes it's just, you just want a different environment. So the plan, so we're going to discuss all of this kind of in depth. So, you know, we're going to talk about timing and budget. The biggest obstacle, I think, for almost everybody is decluttering and what that means. Packing / moving. Home prep. Home prep is really, really important, and we'll talk about that. The market is incredibly strong right now, but the better your house looks, the more money you will get for it. And then finding a house. Do you stay in the area? Where do you go? We'll talk about different options and things to think about if you're ready to make that next step. And then coordinating the move. You know, who do you hire? Who can help? How much does it cost? All of that. So that's pretty much what we're going to cover during the seminar. Okay, timing and expenses. So I would suggest when you're thinking about downsizing, start with the end in mind. Say, well, I think I want to be out of this house in 6 months. Then start from 6 months and kind of work your way to the present time, saying, okay, well, if I know that I want to be there, then obviously you need to figure out where is there. That's one big question that you want to make sure that you're figuring out. And there's a lot of great options, you know, here on the East Coast, Arizona, et cetera, et cetera. I do know from personal experience that everything will take at least 2 times as long as you think it will take. You have a lot more crap, may I say, than you ever realized you had. And, you know, if you've lived in your house, we've lived in our house 27 years. And if you have space, you use the space. I'm not saying always wisely, but if you have a storage area in your basement, you would keep things that you wouldn't necessarily keep if you had a condo with a little garage spot. You wouldn't be able to keep everything. I've heard that like Europeans are always amazed with the American situation where we have this massive house of 4,000 square feet, and then we have a massive storage unit. That's pretty much unheard of in Europe. We like our stuff. I don't know why, we just do. We like our stuff. We're going to talk about, you know, doing it yourself and then hiring professionals. We have used Great Falls organizers. They're fantastic. You have to decide, do you want to do something yourself? Do you have the time to do it? Because it is very time consuming to start the process. Or do you just simply want to hire someone who does this on a daily basis and they do it quicker and faster? You need to look into moving. Moving's expensive. It's probably not going to be a couple of thousand. It's going to be, you know, 5, 7, 10,000, depending on where you're moving. So you need to consider that into your expense of where you're going. And then obviously capital gains. You know, start with a list now and start looking at all the things you've done in your house since you've owned it. It will also help your agent, and it will also help with the appraisal. So have a list of, you know, we did the roof this, you know, in 2019 and we paid 20,000. Start compiling that list because many of us are going to have issues with capital gains. All right, the big one, decluttering. So what is clutter? I think it's probably, you know, what I may consider clutter may not be what Nick considers clutter or what Judy considers clutter. But the reason that we want to try to get rid of as much clutter as possible is when your house is on the market and there are photos, the more items that you have clutters up the visual space and makes it feel heavy. It makes it feel dark. It also it's distracting. So if somebody has, let's say, a wall of pictures, it's hard to focus on the beautiful trim and the woodwork if you see the pictures there. So it's the hardest thing to do is to start with the declutter, but it can make a room feel really, really cramped and dark, and it can also make it feel dated. One of the things that also it's very hard is people have collectibles, and they may be your beautiful little precious moments or your, you know, your swords or whatever. It's distracting to the buyer. Also, if it has value, it's probably not good to have, you know, in the house when you're having showings. But collectibles, either if you're going to keep them, pack them away. You don't really need a bunch of curio cabinets. They collect dust, and really millennials don't really understand why we collect the stuff. They don't want it. So the other thing about clutter is, you know, and I know it too because we brought in a stager to help us with paint colors, is you're not selling your home, you're selling a house. So you need to depersonalize it as much as possible. And for me, that was probably one of the hardest things when the stager's like, you know, well, why did you do this? And what, you know, put away that. I'm like, what? Like, you know, the artwork is part of our personality in our house. And oh my gosh, the walls feel so naked. But once we did it, it really did look so much better. I mean, I like our artwork, but we're not selling the artwork with the house. So for us, it was good advice. It's advice that I give to all my clients is declutter and take away the personal stuff. But for me, it was like, well, I'm going to keep my personal stuff and see what happens, you know? And then, you know, a lot of times we'll have clients go, well, what makes more sense? Furnished or a vacant house? And I always say, and Nick hears me every single time, it depends. So if your house has older furniture that you've had for 20 some odd years, and it's orange and it's brown and it's a plaid or something, or it's stained or it's ripped, it doesn't need to be in the house. We don't need it for the pictures. In fact, we would prefer not to have it in the house. So, you know, if you're planning to get rid of it, then get rid of it. We don't need it. We used to do a lot of staging ourselves, and then we got old and we decided that's really hard work, and it is. So what we do now is we have a photographer who does some virtual staging, and I think Judy has a couple of pictures of some virtual staging that I think we've done. Maybe it's ours, maybe it's not, but.
I've just got to switch screens here.
Okay.
So that let me, like I said, the technical skills here sometimes. You know.
So Donna, are you saying that the furniture and everything that we're gonna see isn't really there? It's
Correct, it's not there. So our photographer, you know, we try to think of the person who the house is going to appeal to. So we do furniture that is, you know, contemporary and not antiques. You know, a lot of us here on the seminar love antiques, have a special, you know, a memory of a certain one. I will say that, you know, kids do not. They really, really don't have the same fondness, even of something as simple as a china cabinet. If you were to go into most homes with 40 and under, age 40 and under, they probably don't have a formal living room set up as a formal living room. And they also don't have generally a china cabinet. And it's not because their mother didn't beg them to take theirs. They don't want it. That's not how, they don't actually want china. You know, that's not how the younger crowd goes. So what we always do is we always show a picture of it also empty. And then we always have there's a watermark on it that says virtually staged. So
Okay. Can everyone see the empty family room I have here?
oh yeah.
Are you seeing that? All right, so then if we switch, here's what it looks like with a virtual staging.
It's not big.
Judy, can you make it bigger?
We don't see one picture. We see the whole.
See the whole slide.
We see your whole
Oh, okay, hold on.
No.
I'm
drive.
not sharing the right thing here then, hold on.
One of the AOL guys. Exactly.
All right, how about now?
There we go. So this is virtually staged. There is no furniture, there is no artwork, there is no fake plant, no candles, none of that stuff. Everything other than obviously there was a fireplace. Oh gosh, I remember that house.
Okay, so here's the original.
That's the original. So, you know, I know that this is a basement, a lower level. We do label our pictures on the MLS. Not everybody does, but this helps somebody go, oh, okay, I totally can see how this room would function. Because people say, well, if it's vacant, you know, they won't know how the room can function. One thing we love to do in basements is we love to add pool tables. Obviously, I wouldn't bring in a pool table because that would be very expensive and very heavy. I will say this house, on a total aside, was a absolute dump. And they took this house, they gutted the whole thing, removed the stairs. Absolutely beautiful. But go ahead and show the staging. The carpet was horrible. Yep. So there you can see kind of, it gives the room a little bit of a personality. And then do you have any more? Is that?
Oops.
Oh, nope. Nope.
Okay, sorry, here we go, same house.
Okay, same house.
Kind
So
of
they removed actually those stairs there. An architect bought it. So anyway, so it gives the house a bit of a personality, which you want something, you want to capture some emotion in your pictures. Okay, we can go back to the decluttering. Oh God, no, we'll come back. Do you want to do this one? We're going to do this one later. The
Okay,
bed.
all right. Okay.
Okay.
Are we back to
So
decluttering?
emotional attachment. We have had several clients, and I'm hoping we will not be one of them, where they got furniture and stuff from their parents, boxes and boxes of family albums, videos, slides, you name it, all sorts of stuff that pretty much you don't know what to do with. And we've had several clients that would bring these boxes to every place they move. We worked with them multiple times and they'd never been opened. And I would say,
Me.
John, go through these boxes. He goes, my daughter doesn't want it. I don't know what to do with it. So I'm going to bring it with me everywhere.
Till I die.
And so they would buy a house where they could put this. And the only purpose of the room was to store these boxes. And I said, well, what an expense. One, to buy a house that you have to house boxes that have never been opened by you, and then to move them. And they just could not
Emotion.
get away from the emotional attachment of something. They don't even know what's in the boxes half the time. And, you know, we found that when we were doing our house, I had boxes with the kids' trophies. And so I said to my son, who was a big baseball player, I said, I've got all your trophies. You need to come pick them up. He's like, Mom, I am not going to be that kid who's 30 years old with trophies on my wall from, you know, high school and whatnot. And they don't want them. So, you know, we had 5 or 6 copies of our daughter's programs and our son's programs. I don't even know why I kept one. So it is it's easy to say, get rid of this stuff, but you really have to consider why you're keeping it and what you're going to do with it. So the one you can, whoop, whoop, whoop.
Sorry,
Whoop.
back.
So the first thing you want to do is you want to ask your family members, do they want it? I can almost assuredly say they do not. They do not want it. But every once in a while, they may say you want it.
Oops.
And if they want it, when are you going to pick it up? Because that's going to matter. If they want it, it's great. But if they go, like we're dealing with this once again with our kids, we want it, but we want you to store it. Well, we are not a storage unit. And for how long are we storing it? Do we have an end date? You know, young kids do not like really heavy, dark furniture. They like the really light,
I thought we were talking
maybe
about.
it's not wood, who knows? They're not into the antiques. And then, you know, the other thing you really need to think about is where if you know where you're moving, will it fit in that house? So we had really great friends of ours, had a beautiful house in McLean, and then they actually upsized from McLean to River Creek, had a decorator come in, they had beautiful antiques. And they decided that after a couple of winters, they were ready to retire and go to Florida. And their furniture would not fit in their coastal home. It was dark, it was beautiful, I loved it, but it would not look good in a coastal Florida home. And so they actually either sold it or gave a lot to the buyers who actually did like a lot of their furniture because it was beautiful furniture. You also have to find out, you know, if you know where you're moving, you know, will you have space for it? You know, will you have a basement? Will you have a pantry, an office, a guest room? Will you have a garage? You know, a lot of houses are getting rid of the living rooms. If you have a dining room, will your formal set fit in that dining room? You know, if not, then what are you going to do with it? I wouldn't suggest moving it and then putting it in a storage unit. That's not a good use of money and, you know, space for sure. So yeah, oh, so this is another funny little client, lovely client. They had the 7,000 square foot home in Lansdowne, and they had a master bedroom set that was, I wouldn't say antique, I'd just say old. And it was one of the headboards that was connected to end tables, kind of like the Brady Bunch, you know, very massive. I mean, had a very big house with a sitting area in their owner suite. And then they had a long dresser with the mirror. Everyone has one of those, and a chest of drawers, and then a makeup or a makeup table, and then a jewelry box, you know, a long cabinet. And so they wanted to downsize. She couldn't go upstairs anymore. And so we started looking. They said, well, we just want a condo. So we looked at condos. Well, the bedroom would not fit anywhere. The furniture would not fit anywhere. And I said, well, have you thought of maybe not taking the furniture? Oh, no, we have to have the furniture. They ended up with a nice little ranch over in Sterling Park. Most of their furniture fit. Some of it they had to move to another room, but they felt very strong about keeping that furniture. They got rid of truly a house full of furniture they just gave to the buyers, which was actually a godsend for them that they didn't have to get rid of it. But sometimes we get stuck of wanting to take furniture because we think we're saving money or something. Well, when you look at the cost to move it, maybe you're not, especially if you're moving to, like my one client who moved to Florida, to ship that furniture, especially if it's older furniture, to, you know, hundreds of miles, thousands of miles. We've had clients move to California, Arizona, that, you know, once you, all of this has a certain weight and you're going to pay by weight. So does it make sense to ship this furniture instead of just buying new? You know, you may find that buying new makes the most sense. Sell, donate, or give away. So we are huge fans of the Restore. There's one in Leesburg, there's Herndon, there's a ton of locations. They will actually come and pick it up. They don't like to go upstairs, which, you know, I get. They will take almost everything furniture-wise, unless it's stained or broken, which makes sense. Which is great because you're giving to a great cause. They work with Habitat for Humanity. If you think it's valuable, it's probably not, but there are places that can, you know, do an assessment of your items and then maybe sell them. You know, we have a lot of clients that have a lot of collectibles, and, you know, instead of 3 collectibles, it's 50, and some of them aren't even stored. Would it not make more sense to maybe sell it or get it to someone who actually loves the collectibles and will display them? You know, that's one thing. And then I know I've talked about it before, is, you know, a lot of buyers, especially in this area, are coming from much smaller places. Let's say a 2-bedroom condo in Arlington. They don't have a whole lot. I mean, you know, 800 square feet, 4,000 square feet. So we have found that a lot of clients either sell the furniture, assuming that it's not damaged and stained and all that, and they'll just either sell it to them for, we had one client that sold, you know, the dining room and all this other stuff for $2,000. And we've had others just say, we'll just give it to them. We plan to give most of our furniture to the buyer so that we're going to start new, which is actually kind of nice. And then the other thing to look at when you're looking at your stuff is, does it actually make you happy? Does it, you know, when you look at it, you know, or is it just a burden that you have it because it was your parents or your grandparents? Or does it actually bring you happiness? And I would say if it doesn't bring you happiness, then let it go, because it's just kind of emotional hostage that you have there.
Yeah, Donna,
Yeah.
Lynn has commented here that another great place to sell is using Nextdoor,
Yes.
a for free group.
Yep. I post, anyone who knows me knows I will not throw anything in the junkyard at all. I will free post it. We've had to get rid of furniture out of clients' homes. I will never put it on the curb for the junk, the trash people to take. I will free post it. And I've even a used toilet. I have never not been able to get rid of anything, whether it's next door or Craigslist has a free post, and which is wonderful because, you know, and I'm telling you, even mattresses, I mean, for some people, this is great. They're thrilled, and I'm happy that they can use it because I've used it. And I'm not talking about, you know, things that are soiled and damaged. I'm talking, I don't need it anymore, and it's not worth my time to sell.
Mhm. And we also have Orion's Attic
Yes.
as a resource. I don't know any of you that joined us when we did our Gems or Junk seminar. They do estate sales. They have shops. He has a lot of contacts on coins and military items. So we can always put people in touch with those folks for, you know, specialty items.
Yeah, they did a great job. So we're going to dig a little bit deeper into decluttering and how to do it. And certainly, like I said, we've used Great Falls organizers before, and you know, you have to decide when is a good time to bring somebody in. So I did a lot of research and you know, on decluttering. Is a lot of people were saying that, oh, next slide.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. And Nabila, I'm sorry, Nabila has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
On free postings, that freecycle.com.
Yep.
I think there's a couple now. There's also on Facebook now a lot of what they
Yes,
call
Marketplace.
buy nothing groups.
Yep.
So you go buy nothing Herndon, buy nothing Sterling. There's a lot of groups there where everything's just given away for free.
Yeah, and our daughter actually uses Macari. I guess it's an app. She has actually sold empty shoe boxes and an empty candle. So there was something for everyone. But yeah, I love Facebook Marketplace. You know, I'd say it's great for selling. You know, the Macari is you pop it in an envelope and you mail it, where obviously the other items you're dealing with someone, so you have to just be careful that, you know, you're being safe. Okay, so decluttering, the hardest thing to do. So when I was doing my research, it was a really good point, is to start in the non-emotional areas first. So that would be, you know, like your garage, your closets, your linen closets, your garage, you know, bedrooms. One thing I always recommend to clients that have a lot of boxes of stuff is grab a couple of boxes, bring it down to your television, your family room, turn on Netflix and go through the box as you're watching TV or a movie. And you're doing like two things at the same time, instead of, you know, it kind of makes it not so painful, is to grab a box. And we would do that with all of our filing cabinets, just grab something, bring it up, and then watch Netflix and go through the box. Weeding out clothing, so hard, so hard, because you want to hold on to that size 4. You really do, but you really shouldn't. And, you know, part of it is, you know, if you're moving to Florida or a warmer client, do you need 3 winter coats and 3 winter boots and 5 hats? And, you know, maybe you do, because maybe you ski and, you know, you need maybe 1 winter coat. I don't know. I'm not a skier. But they say if you haven't worn it in a year, then get rid of it. I know that's, once again, it's hard to do because we think we might be that size, or it's coming. I always hear, well, it's going to come back in style. It will, but differently. Just like, you know, design and furniture. You know, obviously, if it's stained or damaged, just get rid of it. You know, pack up things that are not damaged and donate them. If you think they're worth any value, Macari is a posh. If you have upper high-end stuff, there's some other good sites, Posh something that my daughter uses. But if it's just regular Posh,
I think it's Poshmark.
yes, that's it. And that's for higher end, you know, clothing. But you want to you know, you don't want to bring, like I said, a closet full of winter clothes and you're moving to Florida. You know, one thing you need to think about is, if you know where you're moving, is, you know, what is going to be the size of your kitchen? Are you going to have the space in your kitchen cabinets to have what you have now? Maybe you'll have more, maybe you'll have less. And then let's say you're moving to a nice little 2 or 3 bedroom condo. Maybe Thanksgiving and Christmas or whatever holiday will be at the kids' house. So maybe you don't need all of that, those serving trays. Give it to them. If they don't want it, then give it to someone else who wants it. You know, and think about your appliances and what appliances really that you use. And if you use it once a year and you don't have, you're not going to a big kitchen, you need to really think, does this make sense to bring? You know, are you going to have a pantry? You know, if you're significantly downsizing, you've really got to go through what you really, truly, truly need. And then start with the kind of the emotional part, which I think for most people is the basement. It's the kids, you know, artwork. It's the, you know, the parent stuff, all the stuff that tugs on your emotions. So what we did is we actually had some of the kids' boxes. I took it to the kids and I said, do you want this stuff? Because if you don't want it, I don't want it. And my daughter is absolutely not sentimental whatsoever. She's like, no, I don't want any of it. Our boys actually wanted to keep some of their stuffed animals. I don't know why. I think something's going to eat them before they actually, I would be afraid to actually have them with their, you know, with their children. But they had some sentimental pull and they're light. So I said, okay, I'll keep a couple of the stuffed animals. And I kept a little bit of, yes, I will say, Rosalind also does, which is great, because we have between my grandfather, Nick's grandfather, both sets of fathers. If any of you guys have ever got slides, I have hundreds and thousands of slides of places I've never seen. I mean, I've never been to. I don't even know where. I mean, even though my grandfather was an engineer, so they are probably labeled, but you know, it's 100 pictures of dirt, you know, is, you know, take the ones that actually mean a lot to you. And Rosalind and there are other people who can take the slides and turn them into, I don't even know, digital thingies, onto something that we also have the old tapes, you know, we also, you know, all these little things that you have caskets or, you know, the tins of all these tapes is to actually put it onto whatever. I don't know what they're called. I'm not the tech person in
I don't
this.
think caskets is the right word.
What is the little tin things called?
Those are called reels of film.
Thank you.
Film.
Not caskets. Although we have some, yes.
And most people don't have film camera projectors, and they don't have VHS.
We have two, but they don't work. So
that's the problem. I can help anybody get it all digitized.
yes. You know, other things that maybe we have and maybe we don't is a ton of records. We do not have an LP player, you know. So really, you know, think about what you really do want to. There's a as I was going through our house, it really was cleansing to get rid of some stuff that I kept for really no reason. I thought I had a good, you know, well, the kids want this, the kids don't want it. So really think about, you know, what is bringing you happiness and why you're holding on to it. Okay. Packing.
Do we want to, anybody have
Any questions? Yep.
or comments? Okay.
Nope. Okay. So packing. I happen to love Amazon boxes. They're really sturdy and they're great. So one thing about boxes, and I'm sure the organizer would say this too, is really if you're going to do some of the packing yourself, put a very detailed account of what is going in this box and where it came from and where it's going, because, you know, I've been with movers. I've seen them move. They, you know, I'm carrying one box. They're carrying 10. And, you know, you need to have it labeled so that they go, you know, bedroom 1, bedroom 2, the kitchen, oh, that's pantry stuff. So you're not then having a bunch of stuff thrown in your basement, and then you have to schlep it upstairs, or stuff that's upstairs and you need to schlep it to your basement. So really, you know, label the box as well as possible, you know, spatulas, artwork, crap, I don't know why I packed, you know, whatever, you know, is really start doing that. And then a lot of people ask us, you know, if you start the process early, remember, give yourself plenty of time. You don't want to say, I'm going to downsize and I'm moving in a month. It can be done, but it's also very, very stressful. Is you can have boxes in your garage. Your garage can be packed as long as the inspector, if you have a home inspection, which these days there aren't, they can get around the perimeter, 1, to check for termites, and 2, to make sure if there's any electrical boxes or anything that they can kind of see the wall around there. And then if you have an attic pole, so they can get to that. You can also pile up your basement. Our basement was packed in the storage area. Renting space, you can definitely rent space, but I would say that rent space only if you're going to take it with you. Don't rent space if you don't plan to take it with you. We have one client, they're renting a pod, and they're going to load everything up and make it, you know, they have 3 little kids, so that, you know, they've got toys everywhere. They're going to load up the toys and put them in the pod, and then they can take the pod to their new place. So start getting estimates, because you may find from the movers that you actually don't want to move it. When you look at the cost and it's $10,000, and maybe you have to store for a couple of months because maybe you're doing new build, or you haven't really found where you want to go, you know, it could be $1,000 a month to keep it in storage. Think about, do you really want to pay that price to bring something that you sort of kind of don't really even like anyway? That's it. Next. Get an agent. You know, so obviously we're agents, but, you know, you want to get someone who knows your area, who's an expert in your area, and somebody who really knows the norms in your area. You know, is granite/quartz a necessity? You know, is a kitchen update a necessity? What is expected at this price point where you think, you know, the house should be listed at? You know, what you want your house to shine, and you want the agent to say, you know, this is what you need to do to get the house ready, or it's fantastic. And agents who don't know what the norms are in the area could end up costing you a lot of money on decorating that doesn't really make any sense, because it's going to get ripped up in the first place. Okay. So we are going to have next month the biggest bang for your buck. And this is kind of one of my favorite areas. Is I love to do little tweaks, or as I call lipstick, you know, to really, you don't need to spend $50,000. You don't need to spend $20,000 getting your house ready. Sometimes it's just a little tweaks. I mean, it depends on what you've done throughout the time of living in your house, but there are some very inexpensive bangs for your buck. So kitchens and master bathrooms, owner suites are the things that generally sell, besides, you know, schools and stuff like that. Where buyers' little hearts start to beat is when they see a beautiful kitchen that they can imagine having the holidays with their family. That tends to be a big, big motivator. You know, the reason you want to talk to an agent is I can't tell you how many times Nick and I have gone into a meeting and they've just spent $30,000 doing these different renovations, and they're horrible. They may have spent a lot of money, but one, it was a very personal decision on the colors they used or the type of granite. You know, people are very, very particular about granites. And some people like dark granite, some people like the marble, you know, quartz. So once you start making a lot of decisions for buyers, you're narrowing the field some. So there's a, you know, finished basements. We had a client who finished a basement just to sell the house. You know, you don't necessarily, some people want an unfinished basement. So I said, why are you finishing, you know, why are you going to finish the basement? Are you going to use it? No, it's just to sell the house. Well, you don't need to do that. You know, roofs and HVACs. So they're not very sexy, I say, but you know, if you have a first time buyer who's spending $700,000, $800,000, even $600,000, $500,000 on their first purchase, the last thing they want to do is pay $50,000 over list, not have an inspection, not have an appraisal, not have financing, and the roof is going to die in a month. And that roof is going to be $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. Not very exciting to show off the new roof during the holidays. They'd rather have had that money to do the kitchen or the bathroom or the hardwood floors. So those are things that I would say, if you have an original, depending on the age of your house, if you have an original roof or HVAC, you might consider putting in that investment now, because it will pay for itself, because that's one of the first questions that a buyer's agent asks me. Well, we have in our remarks, that's because they don't read them, but is how old is the roof and the HVAC? Because those are expensive. You know, the two of those could be 20, 25,000, just those two items. And it's the same for a townhouse. You're still looking at about 15,000. So make sure that your HVAC is serviced twice a year is the recommendation. I definitely recommend that. You know, the other thing that we see a lot is the return ducts covered in dust. That means your furnace is working really hard. We've also gone to houses where there is no filter in the HVAC. So that makes your HVAC run a whole lot harder, and you won't get as much use from it. So I definitely recommend, you know, there's a lot of great HVAC companies out there. Have it serviced, have it cleaned. If it's original and it's still running, you know, consider maybe getting a warranty that passes on to the buyers. Does anybody have any questions about any of the ROIs? The other thing is, I had mentioned it earlier, is start pulling these receipts and times and dates of when you did these items. Once again, we've had clients, I'm probably the same person. So when did you redo your kitchen? 1998. So it's a new kitchen. No, 1998. Yes, it's new from 1962. Yes. But it's going to look sometimes a little dated if you've done nothing else to it. There's certain colors that are very dated in kitchens. Now, this market is a very different, you could have orange appliances right now or almond, and you'd still be fine. But other normal markets, you know, is when you really want to, you know, make sure that things look kind of updated. And there are ways, like I said, you can fake that. So Looney, I always call them wrong. Looney Tile has done our house and done our clients. So we renovated our bathroom new 15 years ago. And I have hated it from the day that we did it. The person who did it did a horrible job. And I don't know that we have a picture of the new tile, do we?
Well, okay, so
this, whoopsie.
sorry.
That's okay. So this was our bathroom, and the grout after 15 plus years was very dirty. And, you know, we brought a stager in, she's like, rip everything up and spend 20,000 on a new bathroom, but we didn't want to do that. So Looney Tile came in. I hope we have a picture.
I think I have, oh, why this keeps coming up.
I took a picture of the room and then.
Anyway, I actually think I got a little misty-eyed when I saw it. He had actually bleached, I don't know what he did. The tile looked brand new. It looked newer than when I opened it up in the box 15 years ago. I had my handyman, some of you know him, Yimby. I brought him in. Like I said, I started to get misty. It's white. I can't, like I said, I don't love a lot of this bathroom, but I don't know if you can see, the grout is completely white. He dyed the grout and it looked like a brand new bathroom. The other thing we did is, I always hated the picture of the vanity. I was not a real estate agent, so that's my excuse. So this was the, God, it's all messy too. So this is what most people's vanities look like. It's covered in crap. So I hated it. And I always say, well, what do I recommend to my clients? So next picture.
You're testing my skills here.
I know. So this is the same bathroom. So we invested about $320 on a vanity at Lowe's. And then we got the quartz countertop separately. That was another $300. And then the faucets, which are the 3-hole, those are $99. I got the cheapest ones because it don't matter. And then we removed the mirror. We already had the lights. We removed the mirror, and those mirrors, the 2 mirrors there, to me makes it feel very custom. $59.
Nice touch.
And people thought we had redone our bathroom. Even neighbors who knew us were like, wow, you gutted your bathroom. And I'm like, I gutted the vanity because it was a piece of pooey. It was horrible. And I wish we had done this years ago. And I do hear that from clients a lot when I go through their house and I suggest things to do. Like I had one person fight me on a chandelier in the dining room. And I said, I really, you've got to replace this chandelier. It's rusted, it's whatever. And the husband's like, I think it's perfectly fine. She says, honey, I'm going to do what she says and I'm going to replace it. They did it. I'm not saying the buyers bought the house because of the chandelier. She pulled me aside and said, I wish I had done that doggone $100 chandelier 20 years ago. And I felt that when we were doing our house. I wish, it was as clean as it had never been clean before. Kids are like, whose house is this? I'm like, you're not in here, so it's super clean. But, like the bathroom, I hated that bathroom vanity from the day it was finished. Hated it. And I wish something, real under $1,000, and that's the look that you have. And to me, that's a huge bang for the buck. We still didn't have the frameless shower. We still had the garden, tub. Didn't touch any of that. We just cleaned it up with the grout. And I would highly, highly, highly recommend Looney Tile. They did our kids' bathrooms too, and they just clean it up. And, for kids' bathrooms, it doesn't need to be a fancy bathroom. We kept the vanities in the kids' bathrooms and we painted them. They were the old oak cabinets. And we'll have this on our next seminar, is taking an oak cabinet, painted it white, put on a quartz countertop. Quartz countertop was under $200. My guy painted it. We put on new hardware. It looked like we had redone the bathroom, and we switched out the mirror. Something very, very simple. Any questions on that? Not, we'll continue on.
Sorry. Come on.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so preparing your house. So one of the cheapest things that you can do is paint. And when I say paint, I mean walls, if the ceilings need it, and trim. If you just paint, oh, thank you. It's Looney with an L. But it's to paint, if you paint just the wall, you've got to do the trim, because all of a sudden then the trim doesn't look good. And, I've had people say, well, we painted 15 years ago. Well, paint colors do change. The colors that were very popular in the early, 2000s is not the same color that you see now. Now, we warn you that there are people who specialize in paint colors. We have a couple that are our go-to. Of course, I didn't use it in my own house because I'm crazy, but it didn't look right. I was obsessed about paint color. We literally had swatches everywhere. I know everybody's favorite is the grays right now. You have got to be very, very, very careful with gray. Gray can look baby blue. And most people do not want baby blue, other than in the nursery, on their walls. And because gray is a colder color, it has to work with your flooring, whatever that is. And it doesn't play nice with a lot of flooring. And it does change colors depending on the kind of lighting that you have. So just be very, very careful. Like I said, there's somebody at I think it's Benjamin Moore, you can hire them for $100 and they'll come and tell you what color, which would be easier than what I did, which is put swatches all over the wall and get obsessed. That was crazy. I shouldn't have done it. So we have a client that we're working with right now, has beautiful silk, heavy custom drapes. She probably spent $5,000 to $10,000. They're awful. I mean, they're just awful. They're very, very heavy. They're very dated. Once again, it makes the house feel, I want to say like your grandmother's house or your mother's house. It's very heavy. The younger kids these days just like beautiful blinds or plantation shutters or whatever. So we actually removed them off of her window, and she was like, oh my gosh. And she had beautiful custom blinds, which you never could see because of these heavy drapes. And she removed it. She goes, wow, look at the light that I have coming through this house. And she had heavy, heavy drapes everywhere. And we've had people who, painted the entire house, and they said, well, should we put up our curtains back up? No, naked windows are perfectly fine. Now you might want blinds in your bathroom, so leave the blinds if they're functioning, but don't put up your curtains. We don't need your curtains back up. A naked, clear, bare window is perfectly fine. In fact, we prefer it because it's not as distracting. And then something else that's really very easy to do and not a lot of money is update your lighting. A lot of us had the brass builder lighting, switch that out. Faucets, like the faucets that we did, $99. Is just update, even just the knobs in your kitchen. I was telling Judy, I showed a house in Reston on Monday, a $940,000 house. The knobs, the kitchen cabinet knobs were original. They had redone the kitchen. I don't even understand. They saved the knobs, which were brass and had the wood. Why it's kind of hard to, everybody probably knows what I'm talking about. None of the house had brass in the kitchen, and they could have easily have had some beautiful brushed nickel pulls or knobs, and it would have made that kitchen feel more updated. But because they put old, I've even seen like the brass ones, knobs, you can get a whole 10 pack at Lowe's or Home Depot or online. And it's really inexpensive, but it's a big wow when everything looks the same. So flooring. So we get this question a lot about flooring. So my theory is on carpet, if it is soiled and it looks horrible, most of the time it's best to replace it, especially if you have had animals and you have pee-pee marks everywhere. Nobody wants your animals' pee-pee marks all over. We had a house, and it was a $700,000 house, and it had horrible carpet. And she's like, well, what's the big deal? And I said, because people are going, well, first of all, it's not my animal who's peeing on the carpet, which is bad enough. It's your animal. And what's the subfloor look like? Because we have had houses where the animal pee was so bad, they had to remove the subflooring because, one, the smell, but the subfloor was ruined. And removing subfloor is actually not cheap. It's expensive. I don't know why. It's subfloor, but it's so can the carpet be cleaned? We've also had we have a great relationship with Reclaim It, where they've come and stretched the carpet. You don't want to, when I say replace it if it's really bad, because the other thing that you can do now is you can offer, maybe you don't need to do it in this market, but in a normal market, you can offer the buyer a subsidy. Say, you know what, I'll give you $2,000, you pick out your own carpet. Right now, we don't really need to do that, but you do want the house to feel the value. If that buyer is going to pay $50,000 over, they're not going to want to come in and maybe gut the house unless you're priced, accordingly. Hardwood floors, those are tough. So the kind of the trend right now is the much thicker wood, the 3-inch, the 5-inch, whether it's dark, or it's, the hickory or whatever. And a lot of us, when we moved into our houses 20, 25, 30 years ago, the Bruce wood 2-inch, that's perfectly fine. I don't get too riled up about hardwood flooring. If the buyer doesn't like it, they'll remove it or they'll restain it. Chances are they'll just rip it out. It's pretty inexpensive it's easier to rip it out than actually stain it and to do all that, because the house has to be empty. It has to be the right humidity and whatnot. And flooring is actually pretty cheap. You can go to Lumber Liquidators or wherever and get some really nice looking flooring. LVP, which is luxury vinyl planking. We're putting it in our new house. You cannot, in fact, my son on a dare took a knife and tried to scratch it, to see if you could actually scratch it. You can't, it's waterproof. I don't know if I would have put it in this house. Part of me goes yes, because the minute we installed our new floors, we scratched the heck out of it. But I love it. And Judy, you're doing LVP in your house too.
Yep. Yeah, most of the new construction I see is coming.
Most of the new construction,
LVP
yeah.
Instead of hardwoods.
And you really can't tell the difference. I mean, sometimes I have to tap. It's not, when you think about the laminate floors, they used to have a little popping sound. Well, that's definitely, they've gotten really so much better about that. Does anyone have any questions on flooring or decorating or anything like that?
Rosalind put one in comments here. Do you recommend putting carpet in the bedrooms or doing good flooring?
So if you already have carpet, stay with carpet. Because I wouldn't do it to satisfy a buyer, because whatever you do will be the opposite of what the buyer wants. So if you have carpet and the carpet's fine, then leave it carpet. Because some people, we have hardwood on our upper floor because we've had, dogs and cats, and nobody ever seems to throw up on wood, only on carpet in our house. So, for us, that made sense. But I do know that, having worked with a lot of buyers, they like carpet in the bedroom. They like carpet in the kids' rooms. So I think you're better off having carpet than having hardwood, to be honest. Unless that's your preference and you like hardwood and you would rather have hardwood. For us, that made sense. Okay, staging.
Right.
Donna.
Almost done.
Oh, we got another question.
Yep.
Hey, Donna, we have an older home and it has hardwood floors underneath,
Mhm.
but it has some very dated carpeting in a couple of the bedrooms, like hunter green.
Yes.
I want to just rip the carpet up and just polish up the floors as best as possible on that.
Yep.
In the master suite, it has older carpeting. I think just needs to be replaced. There's not any hardwoods under that. That's an addition that's been
Right.
added to the house. We did update the kitchens and the bathrooms. We did do the luxury vinyl plank in the kitchen, the mud room, and the dining room, etc. But the rest of the original house is all the small hardwood. But like I say, the 2 bedrooms that have the older carpet, shouldn't we take that up?
Yeah, absolutely. I have seen baby blue carpet. I've seen hunter green. We've had a house that had purple. Those are ones that they don't photograph very, very well. But carpet's pretty cheap. You just get builder and most carpet. We have a great carpet vendor that we use on all of our listings, but they have what's called a realtor's carpet, and it's a builder, not really a builder grade. It's a basic carpet, because honestly, buyers only care that it's new or clean. They don't necessarily know that it's a level 5 or whatever. So you can get kind of the lower,
Right, the lower end.
the lower end, and then clean carpet is beautiful. It's like fresh paint, on the walls. It really all of a sudden makes the room pop, especially if you have a really dark color.
We did, like I say, we did update the bathrooms because those bathrooms, one was original from the house from 1959.
Mm,
The
wow.
other one was probably 90s, late 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
It was added. And so we did do that. We did update the kitchen with the shaker cabinets, but we went with all white so
Mhm.
that we didn't choose a color for anyone. We
Right.
did do the brushed nickel
Yep.
handles and that kind of stuff. Did the stainless appliances, all that kind of stuff. Marble with white with a little gray
Yep.
in it.
Yep.
Just trying to be very neutral.
Right.
Now, painting, I had done like a very, what they call a honey white. It's a kind of an off white on the
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
walls in the living and the kitchen and dining room areas and stuff. Should I continue that paint throughout the house?
So we use the same color throughout all 3 levels of our house. One, it's cheaper because the painter can buy it in those big old, gallon, 5-gallon or whatever things. And it just shows consistency.
Right.
I know, like, if you were decorating, you might want to have a different color dining room or living room, but when you're selling it, one color, one great neutral color. Once again, I wish I had used this color. I had a kind of a Manchester tan, I think was the color in the 90s, early 20s or 200s that everybody had. And it was a great color. But as I started to get more and more used to, working with stagers and designers, they were like, oh, I know that when that paint was done by the color of it, you could see, the age because of certain colors.
Right.
So, what we did was a kind of almost a cream color, just enough of a personality so you could see the trim.
It's just a little bit of an off-white.
Just a little personality.
The white trim with the
Yep.
it's called a honey
It's
white.
beautiful. And it also makes it look so much lighter and, excuse me, attracts light.
Right.
So definitely, yeah.
So
But yeah, when you have the darker,
okay, so I'm
carpet, replace
definitely on the right track. We've replaced.
Yes,
the
that sounds like your
lighting, all
kitchen's
the
beautiful.
kitchen, living room, etc. I think we're all on the right track.
Yep, definitely.
But I have one question about there's like 2 of the can lights in the dining room, and that's all. Should I just leave those and not do anything else with the lighting in that dining room?
I would do, so we just have a chandelier in our living room, and the stager had recommended adding pot lights or can lights in to add more light. I was like, I'm not doing that. So we just added a side table and extra lights. And then during the showings, I had every single light on in the house. I mean, it glowed down the street.
Yeah, I didn't really want to replace those, just this 2
I wouldn't
big
replace them. I
lights.
just add, a nice, and the Restore has some great lights. Just get a little table light or a floor light. I did that in the basement.
I've got plenty of lamps. And
Yep.
we
And you know, sometimes you can
recently
update them with
married
the
and moved
shade.
2 households into one, so we
Yeah.
got plenty of things to.
And the Restore does, I mean, so does Home Goods, where you can kind of update it a little bit with different shades and make it feel fresher. So I went and replaced some of our shades from shades at Home Goods. So,
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. So one thing that we definitely recommend is, obviously when we're getting ready to do pictures and getting ready to go on the market, is clear off the countertops as much as possible. So we left the coffee maker out, but virtually, and the towel, paper towel dispenser out, but virtually everything else we shoved in our cabinets. So you really want to, at least for the pictures, we met with someone today and they have, your typical kitchen stuff, everything's, if you looked at our countertops now, it would not look like the pictures. Is, what we can do for pictures is take it, move it out, and then put it back in, so you can live with everything that's actually, you still want your coffee maker and whatnot. So we have to show you this picture. So a client, the one who had the PP carpet, they, oh gosh, I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to let Judy show the picture. And when I saw it online, I literally, I think I screamed out loud. Okay.
This
Now-
is a For sale by owner?
Yes, this was a for sale by owner and my buyers were interested in it. And I didn't know what had died and was dragged off the bed. And I was like, my gosh, that's horrible. And this was actually a custom, and no, in person it looked just as bad, I'll be honest with you. But it was a custom silk. It's actually a fox, but it's horrible. And I said to my client, I showed her the picture and I said, it looks like a murder scene. I'm sorry. This is horrifying. This is one of the worst things I've ever seen in a picture, to be honest. And I said, you want the room neutral. I mean, my buyers were like, oh my God, like what happened? And so I said, at least just flip. She didn't want to spend any money. So I said, at least flip the comforter over so we don't have a murder scene. And that's what she did. And we kind of fluffed the pillows up. But I mean, obviously it doesn't look like a murder scene anymore. And you have to look at, our photographer has a wide angle camera, is you've got to really look what is going to be in that picture. So you see the fox, that is the fox that was on the bed, but the way it was done, I don't know, it was horrifying, absolutely horrifying. So the other little trick that I've learned through stagers is white towels. And, if we go in and stage a place, I have a whole selection of white towels, Home Goods, Walmart, cheap white towels. There's actually a technique to folding towels and pillow propping. And we have an email and we're happy to email that to anyone on how to fold towels, how to put pillows on your bed. Nick had to make the bed one time. And so I took a picture of how the pillows were supposed to be placed, on our bed. Just little things like white towels instead of, soiled towels or whatever, make a big difference. And then a really good cleaning. I mean, I think our house is sort of clean, but our cleaning lady was here for 9 hours. Maybe we don't have a clean house. I don't know. Maybe she's just slow, but I think she's a little slow. But make sure, like I said, your return vents are clean. Make sure that the windows are clean. Having windows professionally cleaned, take the screens out and have them professionally cleaned does make your house feel more open. It's surprising how screens do block a lot of the light and the airiness. The other thing is, you really want a deep cleaning, especially if you haven't used a room in a while, is just have them clean the windows. If it's not professionally, done from the inside outside, at least the window seals are all wiped down. And I definitely, like I said, recommend Looney tile. I think our bathroom was a couple of hundred, and it really was remarkable what he did. The other thing that we see almost every single time, and we were also did the same, is the light bulbs all need to be the same wattage. I still don't understand the difference between daylight and the other light bulb. So I bought both. One's blue and one's yellow. I don't know what the difference is. But I noticed in our house, we had, because a bulb burns out and you're like, okay, well, I have this in the closet, and you put it in, and then you have different wattage on your vanity. Now, if it's for your house, who cares? But if it's for pictures, you want all the watts to be the same. So I just went and got a big, huge thing of lights and just went and replaced every single light so that they were the same wattage throughout. It was a pain, but I'm glad I did it, including in the pot lights and whatnot. So I recommend that. So, okay, so now we're going to find a new home.
Let's just check quickly if we have
Yep, sorry.
questions about staging and repair, remodeling, any of those things before we move on. Okay.
Okay, no.
Everybody's good.
Okay, so, maybe you don't know where you want to go. I know for a lot of clients that we work with here in the Northern Virginia area, they're like, we don't know where to go. because it's so expensive. We're going to sell our house and then we're going to have a higher mortgage payment if we buy anywhere around here. And our goal is not to have a higher mortgage payment, you know, or no mortgage payment. Is where do you go? And, you know, for some people, it's, you know, where are your kids or grandkids located? For other clients, they said, no, we want to go to a no income tax state, and that's where we want to go. Other clients, they want to be on a golf, you know, play golf every day. So they wanted golf communities. Or we've had clients that wanted the coast, you know, the Florida coast, or be in Tennessee on the lake, or, you know, North Carolina, South Carolina, near the water. So there are, excuse me, there are places that are 55 and plus, you know, which means you have to be 55 or older to be there. Those are great communities. They tend to maintain the yard. Now it depends on, you know, the community, but a lot of them have really fantastic amenities. Some have golfing, some have pools, indoor pools, outdoor pools, pickle courts, all that good stuff. You know, so that's something to consider. You know, resale or resale would be a home that is already, somebody's already lived in it, or new. So if you're going to look at new, you're looking at 6 to 9 months generally for the construction. Sometimes it's less. It depends on the community and where they are. You know, where they are in the process, but most of our clients have waited at least 6 months for their new build. And then things to consider if you're thinking of new build is selling your house, obviously, before you do the new build, unless you can afford both at the same time, because no builders generally that I know of will take a sale of home contingency. They're building that house for you. They're not going to risk it. If you can't sell your house, once again, not in this market, you're still buying that house. So, you know, new build is a great option because you are starting all over, but you need to understand that it is unlike a resale in the sense that there are very few contingencies that protect you as a buyer of ways to get out. Basically, when you sign it, you're buying that house. So just, you know, something to think about. And then, you know, like I said, are you staying local? Are you relocating? You know, for some people, you know, it's the style of home and the maintenance. You know, we've had clients that had a nice 5,000 square foot house, went to a 3-bedroom condo. They said, you know what, we don't need all this stuff in our life. We've got adult kids nearby and we want to travel and we want to just lock the door, walk out and travel. I have one client that wants to spend 6 months in Australia. She doesn't want a big, heavy house to worry about a tree falling and whatever. So they're in a condo. Excuse me. So, I mean, there are a lot of great options. Do you want a house that has main level living, you know, where the owner's suite is on the main level? Do you want a patio home? Do you want a yard? Do you not want a yard ever again? You know, villa, do you want it attached? Do you want a single family? So there are a lot of great options, you know, for some of our clients. We had clients that just recently closed on their house about a month ago. Their requirement was they needed to be within an hour of a major airport, and they wanted to make sure there was some sort of hospital. They were both in good health, but they wanted a hospital that was, you know, about 20 minutes away. They didn't want to be rural. But that's the other thing is, you know, do you want to be, we also had clients that sold their house in Cascades and rented in DC. They said they've always wanted to live in DC. The kids were grown. They didn't know where they were going to be because their kids were at 8 stages of their life where they weren't sure where they were going to be. And they said, you know what, we just want to live in the city and walk to dinner and do all that. So they sold their house here and they moved to DC. I would love to do that, but it's too risky. It scares me. And then hobbies, you know, once again, you've got the golf, you've got water sports, you know, do you want to do that? Or are you going to retire? Do you want to be in a community that's mostly retired, or do you want adult living where, you know, some are still working, maybe some are working part-time or consulting? What do you want in a community? And then the other thing is, as you're doing this, talk to your agent, because 9 times out of 10, your agent may know somebody in the area. Our clients that were moving to Florida, we had an agent down there who we set up, and he was sending him, them listings and things. And, you can buy a heck of a house, let me say, in Florida than you can up here. But you also want to make sure that if you're having 2 different transactions, that the agents are communicating to each other if they're going to be very close, coinciding. So that's it. Whoop. Coordinating the move. Okay, so if you're fortunate enough to be able to buy another home without selling your home, that's wonderful. In this market, we're seeing a lot of clients that are able to do that, because they know that they want to get into, they don't want to deal with the showings, they don't want to deal with any of that. And we know we can sell their house. In this market, the risk is very low of not being able to sell the house. The other thing that we've negotiated, we did it with ourselves, we have done it with almost every single seller that we've had this year, is a rent back. And so what a rent back is depending on, it can be a long settlement. So let's say you want to push it out to 60 days. So you close in 60 days and then you rent back. And the limit is 59 days. That's the legal time that you can rent back. There are loopholes to that, but we try to stick to the 59 days. In this market, you are getting a free rent back. I have not had one client charged a penny for a rent back, which is great because it gives you then that option to if you want to do a quick settlement, like for us, you got the money and then, you can go find the place, and then you're a very strong buyer with a pretty large down payment. We're not a lot of lenders do it, but the bridge loan, so they take the equity out of your house and kind of use it as collateral. It's a great thing because then you can actually use your house to buy your next house. Like I said, there's not a lot of lenders doing it. I don't know why. We have a hard time finding lenders that will do it, and it's a great program. I don't know why there aren't more lenders that do it. I just don't know. And then the double move. So some clients want the double move because they're moving to Florida and they think they want to live in Naples, but maybe they want to live in Fort Myers, or maybe they want to live on the ocean side. So they're going to rent for a year and get to know the communities and get to know, the feel of the area. And that's a great option if you don't know anything about the area and it's kind of blind to you. It is moving twice, but if you don't, it's cheaper than buying a house that you hate in the wrong area and you don't like it. Most of our clients try not to have the double move, but like I said, we've had clients who have sold their house and said, we know that the buying process right now is going to be a struggle. So we're going to go ahead and go into a rental. And then we're going to have that option that if we have to spend like 900 and some odd thousand, and if we have work to do, we don't have to live through the work at the house. So that's really, really good. Okay, tips for success. Yes, moving is incredibly stressful. It's emotional. The longer you have lived in the house and the more memories you have had in a house, the harder it is. We've lived in our house 27 years. We actually put a contract on the house when Nick and I were engaged. So all 3 of our kids have been raised in the house, but it's also, a next phase that we're going to, in our life. We're not just staying, in one place, but it's still an emotional, and like I said, not everyone is moving for happy reasons. We've worked with a lot of divorces or deaths, and that is really tough. We had a client last fall, her husband died of COVID. And, there were memories everywhere in that house, obviously, of her husband. And it was a really, really tough, move for her emotionally. Prepare for obstacles. You can plan all you want. Things still happen. It's settlement day and the toilet floods. There's things that are going to happen. And hopefully you have a good support team that's there to help you. There's nothing that we can't come up with a solution for. Consultations. As I said, we have used Great Falls organizers. We had a client who had a lot of stuff. He was not able physically, and I think mentally, able to go through, I would say he was close to a hoarder. He was not able to go through the amount of items that they were moving to Florida. And it's a pretty large house, let's say 4,500 square feet. And the wife worked full-time and she had MS. So she physically could not do a lot of the work too. And so we brought in the Great Falls organizers, and they were really able to hold the hand of the husband. And was it cheap? It was worth every penny because things got done. They planned a timeline. It wasn't like, I'll get to the basement when I get to the basement. No, we have a timeline, and they were actually able to coordinate with movers to then move when they moved to Florida to help them unpack. Because like I said, they had, they weren't physically able to do a lot of work. So they were able to coordinate every aspect of it. And, when you have somebody there saying, are we keeping this or are we throwing it out? It makes you really make some decisions. So that gets to, get professional help. You've got to think about your time. If you're still working, I will say, Nick and I run a successful real estate team. We work 7 days a week. Getting the house ready is consuming. It took a lot of my time. I would have to do things in the evening. I did hire people to do stuff for me. Really think about what your time is and how much time you have and how long it will take you. Because you're like, oh, I have plenty of time. But then 6 months happens and you haven't done a darn thing. I've had clients that are extremely organized and have lists. And I have a client who told me they were going to do everything. And then I get there the day of photos and I'm like, oh my gosh, y'all didn't do anything. We're going to have to shove everything in the closet. And, it takes a lot longer than you think. It's a lot more work than you think. But to get a house, one of the questions that we're asked a lot is, the market is so strong, Donna, why should I do anything? I thought I could sell my house with a dead body. Well, we have to remove it at settlement, one. But no, your house will get more money the better value that it looks to that buyer who's going to spend probably 30, 50, 75, 100,000 over list. You want them to feel good about removing that financing contingency. You want them to feel confident that you've maintained your house so that when they remove that home inspection, they're not going to move in the day of settlement and everything's going to fall apart. It might, because things happen. So the better your house looks, we know from when we've worked with sellers and the sellers who really took our advice and got their house ready, to clients who literally threw it on and we're like, okay, we're throwing it on, and the different prices that you get. So that's all I have. Hopefully y'all have found this interesting and not just hearing me talk. Any questions that you have, I love going into houses and giving advice on staging, on colors. That's kind of I love that. That's the fun stuff of being a real estate agent. I'm not saying I'm an interior decorator or anything like that, but I love helping people with that process. And part of it is I've seen so many mistakes that people have made and sometimes extremely costly mistakes. I mean, I'm talking $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on really poor choices, you know, where they put in a granite and it was a level 6 granite, but it's the most ugliest thing you've ever seen. And it's very personal. So I love coming in and talking with people and going room by room and saying, this is because I work with buyers too. So I know what my buyers are looking for. And I put on, you know, my buyer's agent hat as I'm walking through, thinking this is really going to rub them wrong. You know, something as simple as, you know, oak cabinets that are the oak original cabinets. Many times we've gone into several of our listings and we've had our guy paint them. Huge difference, you know, from having a granite on builder cabinets and then all of a sudden you paint them and it looks like a brand new kitchen, and then you put on new hardware and you don't even recognize the kitchen anymore.
Hey, Donna,
Yes.
while you were wrapping up, I think a couple of times you said something about the inspection that's not done so much anymore, is what I thought I heard.
Yes.
I've been out of the market for a while. Isn't that still the main part of the transaction? And can you just go over that briefly?
Yeah, so I will tell you,
when and
as
how?
of January, it may even have been December, November, but certainly as of January, the transactions that we have had as listing agents and as buyer's agents is all contingencies are removed. And that means no home inspection. Last fall, we were doing home inspection, void only or informational purposes only. You can still get out of a contract. Right now on my listings, we are not allowing any inspections. We have nothing to hide, but that's where we are right now in the market. There are no home inspections. Most of the time, financing is removed, so it's waived, so it's not a contingency. So that means that if the buyer defaults or can't close because of financing, they don't have that safety net. So they're in default and they're most likely going to lose their EMD, which is the earnest money deposit. We are also seeing on almost all of our listings, the appraisal removed, or part of the, you know, we'll cover up to 120,000, you know, below the appraised value. That's incredibly risky for a buyer. You really do need to make sure you have that money, because if you don't have that money, you're in default. It makes me nervous as a buyer's agent, because one of the things I have no control over is that appraisal. You know, is the listing agent meeting with the appraiser to give comps and to show the multiple offers and to talk about the updates? I don't know, because as the buyer agent, I'm not there. As a listing agent, I am trying to get that house appraised. And right now what we're seeing in the market is listings that were sold or went onto market November, December, no longer are comps, because it has to be from January on. But some of those haven't closed, so they're just under contract. But under contract is not a comp that an appraiser can use. So we're trying to quickly catch up to a market that's going crazy. And I think the DARB, which is our Realtor Association, said in Loudoun County, the prices have gone up. What is it, Nick? What was it? 24% since January?
Just in this 2 months.
Yeah.
Average home prices have jumped over 20%.
It was over 20%. So, you know, are we seeing appraisals not work out? Yeah, we are definitely seeing that. One of my buyers fell in love with the house, and the seller said, this is the price. And I said, you understand the risk. They had the money. You know, they were putting a large down payment, so it really wasn't a hit for them. But if you have someone who's shaking out the sofa to, you know, bring that money to closing, that's not something I would recommend as a seller. I love when they waive the appraisal. I love when they waive everything, because then basically I'm like, well, we'll do the termite inspection and then we'll see you at closing. That's it. We're not negotiating home inspections. We're not doing any of those things, but you have to be, like I said, in the condition for that buyer to go, I feel pretty good because the roof is new, the HVAC, the water, all the expensive stuff is done. And so if it's a leaky faucet, that's pretty minor, long as it's not leaking and causing, water damage. So yeah, in this market, we're seeing escalations. I have seen them over 100,000 over list. I have seen, cash used to be king. Well, if you've waived all the contingencies and the higher one has a loan and they've waived everything, then it's the same as cash in many ways. So we're, you have to do your research, as an agent. If they're going to remove this, you need to make sure we've called the lender and make sure they do have this money and they're not playing games with us, because there are a lot of games to be played. Let me tell you, a lot of desperate buyers out there. You want to make sure that their earnest money deposit, that's the money they put down to basically say, this is our good faith amount of money that we're going to close on that. Sometimes they'll put it really low, and if something happens, they'll walk away, leave $5,000. $5,000 is cheaper than a brand new roof and HVAC if something were to happen. So I'm not suggesting people do that, because there's a lot of other things that can happen other than just losing your EMD, which is your earnest money deposit. But the market is the craziest I've ever seen it. I don't know how long it's going to last. We've definitely have clients who were on the fence saying, well, I think we're going to sell in a year. And we've told them about our experience and then our clients' experience. And they're like, we're ready to close. I mean, we're ready to sell because there is no better market right now.
Donna, or actually, was it Donald you were asking that question?
Yes, thank you.
I mean, the caveat in all of this, as Donna was getting to, is that this whole waiving of the home inspection, the appraisals, everything is really in the last couple of months. It exploded due to very high buyer demand, very low inventory.
To be competitive.
Perfect storm,
Yeah.
COVID, everybody wants more space. This is not normal. So this could change, in all honesty, it could get back to at a quick blink in a month or 2 or 3, it could get back to where it's more normal to have home inspections and this and that. We're just talking about what's happening in this very moment.
It's definitely a seller's market. They are in control 100%. Like I said, rent backs are generally they would be the buyer's PITI, which is the buyer's, the mortgage, the title, the interest, everything that they would pay a month. And the seller would pay that so that they could, maybe they're not ready to move to their new house or whatever. They pay, okay, that's great. Now, no seller is paying a rent back. That is generally, like I said, I haven't done one where there's any cost. There's normally a security deposit, but there is no cost to the seller. And we have been able to, like I said, do a little bit more than 59 days on some occasions, but not as a rule. But it really, it is a market that, I don't think anybody knows how long it's going to last. I think it's going to last for several months, possibly a year, but I could be, if the interest rates change or I think there are people who are putting their house on the market very quickly, but you need to make sure you don't want to look like you put it on quickly. You want to look like you put some thought into it. And you want to get your highest dollar, and everybody wants that. Your agent wants that, you want that. And that's, and in order to do that, sometimes you have to roll up your sleeves and, do a little bit of work. Anyone else have any questions? So if anybody wants the staging tips to fold, there's a certain way to fold towels. There's pillow placement and all that stuff. Just email, Judy can put our email there. Just email it and we'll send it to you. Next month, we're going to do bang for your buck. It's going to be some of this, but we're going to have a lot of pictures of things that we've actually recommended to clients. Some of it's, cabinets or flooring, staging that really, like for our house, I think we spent less than $10,000. And we hadn't painted in 15 years, getting our house ready. So it was certainly well worth it. So I hope everybody enjoyed this.